Seoul Dynasty coming in at number 8 for myself and Yiska. Number 7 for Joe. So the Seoul Dynasty here, 134.40. Time stamping it. You're welcome. The Seoul Dynasty have obviously made some pretty big changes, I think, overall. Yes. You've got half of the London Spitfire coming in here with Prophet, Jester, and Bedoshin.
Mm-hmm.
Jaehong no longer in the mix anymore. Fleta gone. The team is just it's not the Lunatic Hai we have grown up to love. Creative promoted to what? Joe. All right. Okay. Anyways, we're gonna get there. We're gonna get here, but anyways, a little bit different. We've got a different roster here, and I think Toby stands alone, right, for Lunatic Hai.
Yeah, that's the last remaining boyo.
So, anyways, I mean, I don't know. Let's talk about the elephants in the room first. Yiska, you're not allowed to speak about Prophet at all for this episode. You don't get to say a single thing.
You got to kill me for that.
So obviously the first big signing I think here would be Prophet.
Yeah.
Yiska.
Yeah.
Are you a fan of Prophet here?
Yeah.
Okay, great.
Honestly,
next,
okay,
Joe. So
yeah,
what do you
right.
think?
No, but okay. Like, I think one fun thing for me to do would be, like, did my power rankings last year, right? Like, long ago. No, it's not. Okay. Of course, the more information I get, the, like, everyone that's, like, a solid Bayesian thinker rethinks their positioning, where those people are based on the information they receive. And Seoul is a team I would rank higher. Why? So I didn't have Fitz as like a really, really good talent on my what are you doing? What is that, the Fitz browse?
I think the stock exchange might be calling.
Oh yeah, exactly. That's the stock exchange browse, apparently.
Yes.
Okay. I cannot control them voluntarily. I had this with friends in the past where it's like, do that thing when you concentrate. I'm like,
Yeah, right.
I cannot. That's just like involuntary. So, I think the DPS lines, honestly, like, forget about illicit. Not going to play a role in this.
No.
Fitz, Prophet, nuts. Like, this is one of the best DPS lines in
Arguably the best.
We'll have to see, but this is honestly, like, I think they struck gold there. I think them committing to them is very good. Like, the best starting DPS line, we would have to say. And that has a big caveat, because I think, like, having solid, like, the best selection of the best 4 generally is very, very valuable over having the best 2, if that makes sense. Yeah. So DPS, no problems here. Tanks, well, okay, here we are getting into the interesting territory. We only have one off tank, and that's not even seeing who that off tank is a problem, I think, for the reasons that we discussed earlier, based on diversity requirements this season. The tank itself, not terrible, not transcendental at all.
No.
Gesture, I think that's the one where, like, I don't know, like, I hope he finds himself again across the season. Once again, from what I've heard, not starting the season all too well. Maybe even Marvel starting ahead. I'm not. I don't know. That I really don't know. Backline, Toby only main support.
Yeah.
Okay, that's an ancient situation. Honestly, like, he's not Chris bad. Let's say this.
No, I wouldn't even say.
Where is he, Joe?
He's like around like Gladiators feeling like. If you look at the conference in general,
even
not great.
Even in
not
a
great.
Lucio meta,
I think he's fine. I think he's
everyone
probably,
has just at least caught up in terms like mechanical ability. They're way better Lucio players now in the Overwatch League. Like Lee J gone, Astro, Moth is probably he plays
Slime.
weird, but like you know that when they Slime is like the transcendental talent there. Masa is very mechanically gifted. Even the Pepega players have great mechanics, just don't know when to go in most of the time. I think like in terms of mechanics, Toby has been nothing special.
when's the last time you've seen Toby play Lucio?
Like
honestly, I can't remember.
Did he not play
in
playoffs? Could be wrong. It's been a minute, guys. It's been a minute.
Playoffs.
Yeah, like
even then, historically, he was never like leaping off the page in terms of just mechanics.
Lucio, I don't think.
But when you're comparing to a role that has seen a lot of increase in depth, he kind of falls down. I think he's fine in a vacuum. I do like Toby, but when compared to his peers, he's not what he used to be.
Yeah. No, he's like Toby used to be what Miro was for Winston.
Yes.
Keyword. The same fate, not exactly the same fate, but a similar fate has reached him where, like once again, like we don't know if you're getting a Lucio meta. Now you gotta put a boy on Baptiste.
Mm-hmm.
Certainly, you can make a difference there with very good mechanics. And if you have to have your, like, it could just be the case that they're just playing creative in Bedosin, maybe. Also,
possible.
like, keep in mind, we've talked about this last episode where, like, this idea, like, where Christopher said, okay, this main shot caller coming from the main support position, that is really not that much the case anymore, and is also not desired, and definitely not lived in Korean teams for the most part. So, like, yes, there's intangible value in having a veteran like Toby in there. I'm not sure that it comes from the shot calling, though.
Bedosian shot calls too.
Yes, that's
he does.
That's where it comes from.
He does.
Yeah, and that's more interesting. Bedosian, like season 1,
crazy player, like
right? Like in the entire so. Yes, Jonak was the best flex support in 2018.
Without a doubt.
But because flex support then also in the playoffs went to as far as Roadhog, Bedosian showed it all in that regard. So nuts in that. Season 2.
Just drove that Spitfire.
Yeah, it's like,
look like a brand new player. Like that
anyone
was
else but Krillin starts. Like
for real, dude. That was rough.
Yeah, I think he was below average performer. Not sure if that was actually the case. Once again, players exist in the context of their team and are in as such indivisible from them. But just like from the output that he actually delivered, he was not great. We'll see how that changes. Once again, reunited with Changun as their head coach, season 1 championship winning coach. Maybe he has a formula to keep these guys in check. Possible. In general, I think also just the things I've heard go into that direction, that they could be as high as like 6-5, something like that.
Yeah, I think it's possible if the Scrim Bucks are positive, if the tea leaves are coming back with them good vibes. I could see it. I really could. I think their tank line, Gesture has a lot to kind of prove. I will say I wonder what Prophet looks like without his duo buddy. I think that'll be a first. We'll have to see.
Seems to be a lot of reasonable depth at all the positions, and assuming that nobody just completely falls off the map and is completely like, they lose 4 fingers on their hand or something like that. Like, this should be, as you said, this should be a team that finishes well. Definitely a team that could just straight up qualify for playoffs.
Oh yeah.
Bypassing play-ins even. I think the biggest thing is being in the Pacific.
Yes.
Yeah, that's tough. That is tough.
Definitely tougher matches overall, but overall, are you guys at all worried? So there's this kind of there's a storyline being fed right now to the Overwatch League community that bringing on 3 London Spitfires is taking on apathy and a culture of mediocrity after a team who squeaked by one season 1, but not because people really felt that they were the best team, more that the meta fit them and came in at the right point. Yep. In season 2, probably much more performed to like their skills and the caps, but still this idea of like London Spitfire combined the 2 best Korean rosters into one roster, and then outside of getting the actual championship, hasn't produced these prolonged results. That bringing these 3 players on doesn't allow any of these 3 players to be able to move beyond their London Spitfire roots or whatever you were, however far back you want to go with the roots, and ultimately come back to, we've just moved some really great players who had some issues, whether it was with their individual play styles or the way that they communicated or whatever. They're now back into a point where none of them can improve to a level because they're in a way tied to each other.
I would agree with that sentiment that what Gen G has done is ripped the soul out of London, no pun intended, and put it in Seoul. They've taken their 3 arguably best players. I think you can definitely talk about Fury there, but 3 top performers on that roster, put them on their team with one of their coaches, and now you inherit a lot of those same traits. Very punchy, very meta dependent, could be inconsistent, right? But I'm going to use an anecdote that Yiska likes to bring up from time to time, and it's this idea that if you take a student in anything and you put them around the best students, if you take a problem child, let's say, and you put them at the smart kid table, they're going to inherit this drive, this mentality of teamwork, of working together, sharing ideas, and they'll adopt that over time. That's how I'm projecting this team to go. I think they're going to be very punchy, very inconsistent early, and I think by the end we should hopefully have full strength Prophet bought into the Soul system, whatever that might be, and ideally that's how this works. I think that's a very apt anecdote. If these were the problem children for London, we put them in a new system. We give them a nice honeymoon phase and say, beautiful, you're on a new team, new system. You can buy in if you have success. If you don't, that's fine. That's something that these players are going to have to face. We saw that in season 2. It wasn't great, but these are championship players. They went from GC Busan, won Apex season 4, won APAC, won Overwatch League season 1. These are winners. Now they've just suffered their first loss, right? That's going to do something to someone. That's going to kind of spur on a mental reset, and putting them in Seoul hopefully accelerates that a little bit faster. But I would agree with the narrative.
Just to address like the community concern, I think it is reasonable to ask if there are problems that are not fixable or Seoul doesn't have the tools to fix.
Sure.
That is very reasonable because we don't know what actually went wrong in season 2.
No.
Right? So I also don't know. I can look at this.
We can speculate, but yeah, it's hard to say.
Like I can look at the at their players and go like, okay, yeah, I recognize there was something incomplete last season. I couldn't tell you if the Seoul system like fills those holes. Really couldn't tell you. I can tell you what I've been hearing about their performance. I can not tell you how good their coaching staff is. I don't know what Changgun does. Initially in season 1, I was told not much other than temper people. I was told that the rest of this coaching staff that we know of also don't do much or much sensical stuff. And then they have 3 analysts who I know nothing about. I don't know who they are. And sometimes the thing is, a team is invisibly carried by one individual that isn't on the forefront of anything and just like is like the guy that just understands Overwatch and just tells it to the people. Then maybe those coaches are good at teaching it to players or whatever. That might be a quality they have, but it is entirely intransparent to me how good that coaching staff is, and it is intransparent to me if the Seoul players that were on that team already are the things that this London Spitfire roster needed to fill the holes that they had in season 2, or if it's just a meta situation or whatever it is. It's entirely intransparent. I trust what they are currently doing much more than what the past told us. I also think saying they were championship type players also only has so much value in Overwatch, because the same can be said for Myro. Goodbye. The same could be said for Yu Jaehong.
Sure.
Average. The same could be said for Yiska. Never made it there. Like, right? It's like we can use these tools, but they're not great at predicting whatever is happening. Of course, this season generally is super volatile, and in that regard, I don't know, and we'll have to see. And generally, like, imagine just like the aspects that could be coming in. Now, once again, I have to say, no spoiler, no leaks, no information, but hypothetically, what if all the Chinese homestands take place in Korea because of that situation? Like, they haven't closed anything, or to my knowledge, don't have the issue there. Mm-hmm. So what if, for instance, an OGN or whatever would host the homestands in that country? Would that not change a lot for them in terms of practice quality and like travel schedule and whatnot? Wouldn't that ridiculously, like, that's way better than what the DL Justice has, right? Yeah. So we'll have to see. There's so much that could go right or wrong. And generally, like, we're basically, like, we're in the vast ocean, and we found like driftwood, and we're like tangling along, trying to get to the shore to understand and make power rankings. But really, we're like, the next wave could just blast us away. And maybe the next wave is the coronavirus, or the next wave is a patch, or the next wave, whatever it is, but it's entirely